Late in the afternoon on November 18th, 1929, something impossible began happening beneath the Atlantic Ocean. One by one, the communication arteries connecting North America and Europe simply disappeared. Telegraph operators waited for familiar bursts of Morse code. Nothing. Engineers checked relays, power supplies, and switching stations. Still nothing. Then another cable went silent, then another, then another. It wasn't random, it was systematic, as if an invisible force was hunting the world's communication network, executing each transatlantic cable with terrifying precision. At 5:02 p.m. local time, a magnitude 7.2 earthquake struck beneath the Grand Banks, roughly 160 miles south of Newfoundland. The seabed convulsed. Coastal communities felt the violent shaking, but many believed the danger had already passed. It hadn't. Minutes later, the earthquake displaced enormous volumes of water. A tsunami raced toward Newfoundland's Burin Peninsula. Fishing villages had almost no warning. Waves crashed ashore, sweeping homes from their foundations and claiming lives before many residents even understood what was happening. But while the surface disaster made headlines, something far stranger had already begun thousands of feet below the ocean. For tens of thousands of years, glaciers had quietly prepared the stage for this disaster. During the last ice age, retreating ice sheets dumped unimaginable amounts of sand, gravel, mud, and fine sediment along the edge of the continental shelf. Layer upon layer, accumulated until millions of tons rested in a delicate balance. The earthquake delivered the final push. The seabed failed catastrophically. Entire sections of the continental slope collapsed, unleashing one of the largest submarine landslides ever recorded. But this wasn't simply dirt falling downhill. As the collapsing sediment mixed with seawater, it became something far more dangerous: a turbidity current. Imagine a liquid avalanche carrying mud, rocks, gravel, and water, packed so densely that gravity itself continuously pulled it forward. Every meter it traveled, it gathered more sediment, growing heavier, faster, and more destructive. It plunged into deep submarine canyons, accelerating through complete darkness like an underwater freight train with no brakes. Back on land, engineers faced a mystery unlike anything they'd encountered before. Multiple transatlantic cables had failed, but not simultaneously. Every cable station carefully documented the exact moment communication stopped. At first, those handwritten timestamps seemed like ordinary maintenance records. In reality, they would become one of the greatest pieces of geological forensic evidence ever collected. The cable closest to the earthquake snapped almost immediately. Then, after a measurable delay, another failed farther downslope. Hours later, another cable hundreds of miles away went dead. Then another. Then another. 12 independent communication lines failed in an almost perfectly ordered sequence. The farther each cable lay from the epicenter, the later it disappeared. Years later, scientists connected every timestamp to every cable location. The pattern revealed something astonishing. The destructive force wasn't spreading randomly through the ocean. It was moving as a single advancing front, racing along the seabed at speeds approaching 60 miles per hour. That meant an underwater sediment flow, traveling through complete darkness nearly 2 miles beneath the surface, was moving almost as fast as a highway vehicle, while maintaining enough energy to destroy armored infrastructure across hundreds of miles. The broken cables had unknowingly recorded the journey of an invisible avalanche. A turbidity current doesn't behave like an ordinary river. Its dense mixture of water and sediment acts almost like flowing concrete. Millions of tons of suspended particles create immense momentum, while turbulent currents scour everything in their path. When that moving wall encountered a telegraph cable, it didn't simply bury it. The torrent wrapped around the cable, dragged it against the seabed, overloaded its tensile strength, and finally ripped through layers of steel armor and gutta-percha insulation. One cable after another failed exactly as the sediment wave arrived. By the end of the event, 12 major transatlantic communication cables had been severed. The primary information highway between Europe and North America had been crippled, not by war, sabotage, or mechanical failure, but by a landslide no human had ever seen. The true significance of the Grand Banks disaster didn't become fully understood until decades later. At the time, many scientists doubted that underwater sediment could travel such extraordinary distances while maintaining destructive power. Conventional wisdom suggested these flows should quickly lose momentum. The evidence refused to agree. Researchers Bruce Heason and Maurice Ewing painstakingly mapped the broken cable locations against newly surveyed submarine terrain. The pieces fit together perfectly. The cable failures traced the exact path of a massive turbidity current flowing through deep submarine canyons before spreading across abyssal plains. What engineers originally considered an infrastructure disaster became one of the strongest pieces of evidence, proving that enormous sediment flows continuously reshape the ocean floor. The Grand Banks earthquake permanently changed oceanography, forcing scientists to rethink how continents slowly transport sediment into the deepest parts of Earth's oceans. Today, the Atlantic appears calm from above. Cargo ships cross its surface. Satellites orbit overhead. Fiber optic cables now carry nearly all of the world's digital communication across the same seafloor. Yet the silent abyss beneath them remains alive. Mountains collapse. Valleys shift. Invisible rivers of sediment still flow through total darkness, following the same physical laws that severed the world's communication network in 1929. The Grand Banks disaster revealed an unsettling truth. The deepest places on Earth are anything but still. Hidden beneath miles of water is a landscape constantly being rebuilt by geology and gravity. A place where a single earthquake can unleash forces powerful enough to rewrite science, cripple technology, and remind humanity that nature's most devastating machinery often operates where no one can see it.